So, what's up, everybody? Mr. Lamessi here, back from Blizzcon, and I am going to give you guys my pre-alpha in review. I've got my notes right here. We're going to go over the notes of everything, give a little summary of the weekend, summary of the stream. Thank you, Mudstone. So, number one. Lots of overreactions. Holy cow. Holy cow. The overreactions were absolutely ridiculous when I was like, this is my summary of like the stream, right? The 2-hour stream. I've like thought about it since then and talked with the devs more and stuff. Everybody, you guys, that is like all that exists right there. A lot of that stuff is just... it's just existing, like a talent tree. Don't look at the talents. The talents aren't going to be optimized and amazing and have, well, this one's great CC and this one is blah, blah, and like really interesting choices. That'll exist later on. That's like end of the line stuff. You start deciding what the talents are. Right now, like there's an engine, there's a demo, and we're playing that. That's all they have. This is like pre-alpha. People are expecting it to be in like late beta stage right now. So the overreactions are crazy just on YouTube and on that Twitch stream and everywhere. And probably in the positives as well, right? People are like, this game's going to be amazing and so great. And other people are like, this is Diablo 3 trash and it's never going to be good. Like, we don't know anything about any of that. All we know is exactly what we see, and we have to take it at the value that like a lot of this will change, and things like what an item looks like, what, how the potion system actually functions, what the talent tree has or the skill tree has. Like, they were just trying to say, we're looking at putting talent trees and skill trees in the game. We're looking at having potions. We don't know what it's going to be yet. We're looking at having rune words. Look, there's one rune word that you can make right now in the game. Like, it is a thing, and this is something we're looking at. That's it. So the game isn't D3 remastered or D2 remastered or just a reskin. It's none of that. It is just what it is in its current state, with a lot of expansion and progression to have on everything. Nobody's paid for anything yet. Nobody's pre-ordered anything yet. They're not making tons of money off all this stuff. I guess the D4, whatever. Besides the cool gear, which I would get anyways, and they gave to me anyways, so like, whatever. But this is just like a base thing. Get your feedback into them. Stuff will change. And then down the line, when they eventually say, hey, we're having the beta. Hey, we're releasing and you can pre-order now. If you still don't like the game, don't buy the game. If the game is coming out and it still looks like trash, sure. But right now is not the time, in my opinion, to throw the game out or to commit to the game completely. It is just a time to say, cool, we're excited that this is in development. Here's some stuff that they're looking at. Here's how we give our feedback. How do you give that feedback? You can give it to me. You can post it on the forums. Just putting it out into the Diablo world, it seems like they're looking at it a lot more. They're reading the Reddits, they're reading the forums, they're hearing what we have to say. We send feedback into them. Like, there's a lot of ways that they're going to be getting feedback. So just make it heard, but be respectful about it. Be kind about it. Just say, hey, this is something that I really enjoy in the game. And then maybe a lot of people come over and they're like, yeah, I really like that too. And then it blows up to like a big thing that everybody really likes. And then they look at that and they go, a lot of people seem to like that. Easy, right? So, getting into it. The engine feels great. Watching it versus playing it. Like, watching it, I thought it looked decent. I thought the Sorceress and Barbarian looked all right. The Druid looked better. The melee combat seemed a little better. The range was weird, but once I got in and started playing it, the engine felt really good. It felt smooth. I loved the combat that existed. Like I said, when I was hitting things, I could feel myself hitting stuff. Even when I was casting from the sorceress, I could feel the delay in it. There was a good like time from my cast to the bolt or whatever it was coming off the staff to the hitting of the monster. It had a really good feel. I hope you guys got to play the demo. For anybody who was there, I liked that piece a lot. They also talked about the new engine, which was an engine built from ground up that could randomize maps even better. So when you go into dungeons, they said like, we want you to not know where you need to go, sort of stuff, like be more random and doing that. I feel like it looks better than D3 personally, just from what my visual eye of it. The added features are cool with like the weather and the climbing and the just like those little things. It seemed I liked the engine. I really liked it. It seemed like a great base to build something in. Like I was sitting there and I was thinking like, if they built Diablo 2 Remastered right now in this engine, it would be a really cool game. Like that would be a really cool remaster. But whether they're doing any of that stuff, who knows? That's neither here nor there. I just thought like that would be really cool. This engine would do it well. The characters felt really great as well. Like I said, good cast and attack times. Druid felt best. Barbarian felt pretty good. And Sorceress felt all right to me, like at least all right. Delays on things were good. Actions were crisp. Spells were crisp. A lot of good stuff. So I liked the characters and how they felt, at least from just a playing standpoint. In a negative side, the items felt like Diablo 3. Too much to me, right? They felt like stat sticks, and in a way that like I didn't enjoy. Just like a lot of pieces of them. Looking at the items wasn't appealing, right? Like the art that when they were in the inventory and things like that, they didn't look cool. They didn't look like, when I pick up a scythe or something in Diablo 2, if I have like a windhammer or bone snap, it's got like a cool design and how it sits in your inventory and your guy equipping it and stuff. And I just didn't see any, like feel any of that when I was picking the items up in Diablo 4. The inventory was kind of boring. I really don't like the one slot fits all items style that is there, right? I really hope they change that and go the PoE Diablo 2 whatever route where it's like items take up different pieces of your inventory and are different sizes and have more like of a cool skin to them than the way they currently sit, where it's just, I don't know, they look like cartoony almost, kind of. So I wasn't a big fan of that. I didn't like the just the like stats on them a ton. Attack, defense, percent crit. I feel like when I play Diablo 2, especially if I go back to like when I wasn't speedrunning and actually took time to like read items and things, like I'd run out and I'd kill a monster and a blue boot would drop and I'd pick it up and I'd identify it and I'd be like, ooh, that's got like 5% cold resist and half freeze duration on it. Is that better than having +2 to dexterity? And then I'd like sit there and I'd like think about it for a little bit and I'd be like, yeah, I think it is. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on, right? But I'd like make a decision and like think about it more. And when I was putting all the items on in this demo, I was just going, I'd pick it up and I'd hover over it and it would have a little green arrow that was like, this is better attack, better defense, whatever. And I would just right click it and it would put it on. And then the other thing I didn't really care at, right? It was like so casual that I cared nothing about any of the items. I couldn't tell you any items I found except the cool legendary fire axe and the SOJ. 2 SOJs. That's the only thing I can tell you I found. I don't even know what the stats were on those things. I think there was an amulet that gave me the chance to cast Hydra, which was also cool. But those were like legendaries, right? Any item that wasn't that, I don't know what it did. It just had an attack and like a defense rating. And then I remember I also tested at one point, I think I put a ring on and my spell damage went up because it had an attack there. So I hope that they break away from that and they say there's physical damage and there's spell damage, and they are separate things. And just wearing an item like boots or whatever won't increase the attack of your spells or your weapon, right? Unless it specifically has a modifier that's like percent enhanced damage increase or, percent spell damage increase, right? Like, that would be a much better system to me. So in the current state, items feel very D3. They also were talking about the legendaries and then the ancients, and I hope they also break away from that. I don't like the way Diablo 3 does the legendary to ancient to primal. Maybe you find it and it's got more stats on it, right? I feel like it's a lazy way to like make a cooler item sort of thing, So it's a grind, but not in like a way that I feel like is fun. Like you're just like finding Schaefer's hammer over and over and over and over again until, you found the primal one. Cool. Or ancient one now. Like, but you got to find 100 of them, 400 of them before you have, for the odds to get the primal one. And I don't like the way that is currently set. So that's probably one of my biggest hopes for change. Is that they will really look at items again and maybe look a lot more back at D2. I think D2 itemization is a lot cooler. I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again. You know what I pick up in Diablo 2? I pick up cool bases that are white that drop. Oh, cool. A white Monarch dropped. A white Sacred Armor dropped. A Colossus Fold dropped. What Cryptic Axe, whatever. Cool items, bases, I pick them up because I could suck at those. I could do stuff. Especially if it's like superior or something. Oh, snap. That's awesome. Right? I pick up gray items. Ooh, this is a 6-socketed, item. This is an ethereal socketed item. This is whatever. Awesome. Sweet. I'm picking that up. I pick up blue items. I'm looking for a Jeweler's Monarch of Deflecting. I'm looking for 640 Javelins. I'm looking for a, an armor, right, of the whale, right? So I can have like just a massive light. Like there's like cool blue items that can go all the way to end game or be good mid game, lots of places. I'm looking at rare items, rare rings, rare amulets, rare boots, rare gloves, rare belts, rare javelins, like so many cool rare items can exist in the game. Rare dimensional blades with Fool's Mod and IAS and enhanced damage. Those are some of the coolest items in the world. You upgrade it to a phase blade. It's this amazing, sick, rare item that exists. You find an amulet, 2 to Druid skills, 10 faster cast rate, 27 to strength, 34 to life, 13 to all res, 27 to fire res. Like, what? That's so sick. That's so cool. That's greater than any like unique whatever, right? That sort of stuff is awesome. I'm also picking up set items. My level 98 sorceress, who's pretty much end game, like has all GG gear, is wearing 3-piece towel still because it's great for Magic Find. I'm picking up unique items, and going through. I've got my Death Fathom. I've got my, I still use a Nagel ring, which is like a super early, right, ring that you can get at the start of the game. But it's got the Magic Find boost on it, and that's cool. It could be better than that, though? A blue ring, Fortuitous Ring of Fortune. Is that it? The 40% Magic Find blue ring? I can find that. Like, there's so many. Every single item in the game, pretty much, or rarity or tier of item in Diablo 2 can have meaning and can have end game purpose, can have early game purpose, can have whatever, all start to end. And it's fantastic. I love it. I love it so much. I think that is fantastic itemization. Diablo 3 and what I saw of the start of Diablo 4 was like, you're just kind of going through the trash, right? There's just a lot of trash that just kind of exists, and then you're just trying to get to the ancients, trying to get to the primals, trying to get to your mythic, whatever, that sort of stuff. So I will definitely talk more on itemization in the future, but that's like one of the biggest things I saw in the demo that I hope they take a big look at and change up for like their first thing going forward. Is like, all right, we got to do something else with items. We don't want to dumb it down to just attack, defense, stat sticks, right? The skills were cool. I really liked the skills that I used, right? Boulder was probably my favorite skill. Reminded me of Molten Boulder from Diablo 2. Had a great pushback, had a great kind of stunning effect in the push, knocked monsters off of the ledge, got me to curse apparently because I was so excited that it knocked the monster off the ledge. Had a good speed to it, right? It wasn't right, zip all around crazy, whole screen. It was a nice speeded boulder, had a good explosion. Animation was great. I loved the boulder. Favorite skill probably of the game. But I also loved other things. I loved the fireball. It was simple, nice and easy, good explosion. I loved the ice bolt. I loved the leap. I loved, just a lot of the skills felt really good. They didn't have crazy, it wasn't too crazy. It wasn't too like simple. It just had a nice, each skill felt unique in a way. And had a good interaction with the environment and with the monsters. So I was very happy about that. The skill I didn't like was Conduit. That was the one skill I thought was a little bit over the top. That was the lightning source skill where she went zip, 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 zip. It was a bit much. That's all I can say with that one. To me, like, if you have Conduit in the game, Conduit becomes too strong. Everything has to match up to Conduit, and then you get into the overpowered nature of, becoming too much at that point. So, didn't like Conduit. It felt the most broken, silly of the skills. But a lot of the other skills I liked a lot. Let me see if I talk about that later. Yeah, I do. Talent trees expanded could be really cool. Obviously, more options is better there. And then I'm thinking like long term, you're doing stuff that's like changing the game, like Path of Exile, changing a build with a specific talent. You can no longer do damage, but you get an extra totem, right? You no longer take chaos damage, but your life total is set to 1, right? Like the PoE skills that are super crazy, and if you pick it and don't have a build for it, you're just going to brick your character completely. But they're like there to create these really cool builds to like go to them, and I think that stuff is interesting. So I hope that they have really good stuff added to the talent trees, really interesting decisions to be made, and really big sacrifices to be made to get to one talent or another, right? I really hope that that's in there, and it does get away from the just damage versus damage, which, like I said, was just temporarily in there. The difficult dungeon, the one on the right that was level 25, felt the best of all the dungeons. I might just be saying that because I've played so much Diablo that like the other dungeons were really easy, and obviously it's a demo, so they're not gonna like try and be murdering everybody in the demo. But I don't know. I really hope that they have damage from these other, or levels in these others, and difficulty in these other dungeons. I really hope that it's there, I guess, is the best thing I can say. I hope that they allow and don't scale everything around you so much that you can never like break away from, the difficulty that you are, right? Or the equal state that you're at, right? That was something that I felt with Diablo 3 I didn't really enjoy a lot. And it's something I appreciate in Diablo 2. I can rush into areas that are way above my level. It gives me this crazy hard experience and difficult area to be in. But I can get more experience there. I can, it gives you a lot of that. So, we'll have to see what they do. But I really hope that I can have access to difficult content if I want it. That's not just going in the menu and changing the difficulty of the area up and down. I don't really like that system. And then it felt like faster hit recovery was missing. I didn't feel like I was getting punished for where I was standing. There was one time, there's one 10-second, 15-second clip. I don't know where it is in that video, but I am standing with a sorceress, I think, standing in the middle of a dungeon, and there's 20 monsters around me, and they're all swinging at me, and I'm trying to die because I wanted to see what the death, if I could actually die in the game or not, in the demo, and my health was so slowly going down, and I was like, man, I need to be able to die faster, and I need to be able to be put in hit recovery when I'm doing that. I shouldn't at any point be able to just click out of that group and my character just kind of moves out of the group. I want to, if I'm stuck in the middle of a group of monsters, I should be getting hurt by that. I should be really struggling to get away from it. I'm surrounded. I need to be able to try and fight my way out in some hard way, and I'm getting put in hit recovery, and so it's difficult to do so. Give me that. Don't just make it whenever I get back to my keyboard and mouse, I can push a button and just kill everything, or I can just step and walk out of it. I need to be punished for being in that position. Cooldowns are not mechanics I enjoy in ARPGs. That is my next note. I'll talk more on this later in a future video. But in general, because one person said, what are you talking about? Cooldowns are great. Think about Dota 2. And I thought, cooldowns could actually be kind of cool in PvP. I don't think they're cool in PvE. Why is it cool in PvP? Because if I am fighting against you, now we have this dance that we're doing, and I'm trying to time when I want to cast my stun spell at you. Let's say my boulder's my stun, and I jump to the side and cast it, and you dodge out of the way. Now my boulder's not up for 6 seconds. You can kind of try and jump on me a little faster. I think you can have that interesting mechanic, right? And I think that's how it works really well in Dota 2, right? Having cooldowns on spells, somebody bursted all their spells out. Now you can have your chance, or you don't have to worry about getting stunned, whatever, to go on them. That works well in that case, and could maybe work well in PvP somewhat. But overall, I think, especially with PvE, I'm not trying to dance around with Diablo and time when I'm going to use my spell on him because he used his and now he's on cool. There's none of that, right? I just go in and I just cast all my stuff on him. And then I'm sitting there and I'm oh, now all my stuff's on cooldown. Now I'm just waiting for my stuff to come up on cooldown or come off a cooldown, and I'm just mashing my hands on all the fingers of the buttons keys, right? That's what ended up happening in Diablo 3. I felt like I was just sitting there just doing this, just hitting every key all the time because as soon as it came off cooldown, I just wanted to put it on cooldown again. It feels like lazier design. It's not... The biggest thing I like to say with it is not resource management. It removes all of my decision making, and it just takes it out and says, we'll make the decision for you by putting this on cooldown for 9 seconds, and this one for 14 seconds, and this one for 60 seconds, and this one for 5 seconds. And now I don't get to make decisions really on what spells I'm using. I use that 14-second one, and then that 9-second one, and then the 5-second one, and then okay, well, now I guess when the 5-second comes off, I'll press the 5-second again, and then when the 9-second comes, I'll push the 9, then the 5 again, then the 14, then the 5, then like it. They're building my path for how I have to use my skills. I want to be able to make that path. I feel like if I'm allowed to make those decisions, suddenly instead of there being a few possibilities for how I'm damaging and doing my spells, there's a billion possibilities. Am I casting Nova 7 times, then Static 3 times, then Frost Nova, then Teleport, then Frost Nova, then Static twice, then Nova, then Frost Nova, then Static, then Telekinesis, then Shiver Armor, then am I doing all of that myself? Or am I just doing whatever comes off cooldown? Because, well, now I can do that, right? I will have a resource management and cooldown discussion later on, and a whole video probably on all of that. It's and this is, we'll get to that later. That's all I can say. But the point, basically going back to it, is in Diablo 2, which is my best example of it, I am always making the decision of what spell is the best in whatever case scenario I'm in. And oftentimes that is changing dependent, second to second, millisecond to millisecond, right? When that monster is winding up its bow at me, my decision for what I'm going to cast is now different than when there's a melee monster walking towards me, than when there's monsters all around me, than when there's a group in front of me, right? All of these different areas are going to give me different reasons to use the skills they provide, and I think that I should have the ability to do that. I think it adds a lot of depth without adding too much complexity, to where it's like, oh, I don't know, it's so hard to figure out what's happening. They said they didn't want players to have to calculate everything on the fly all the time. That's cool. I get that. Allow for there to be depth still in this game in these sorts of ways by just having options. Somebody can just walk in and use their one skill, and that's fine. You can still do it. It's just going to be slower than me optimizing it, right? I thought the cutscene at the start of the game, when you beat that first area and went through that little crawl space, was cool. I hope they don't have a ton of cutscenes. I think cutscenes are great for, like, you run into a new area, they show you the whole, like, world look of the new area. I think that's cool. It was a skippable cutscene. It was skippable. Maybe, like, show up to a boss fight first and he, like, jumps down. I think that can be kind of cool. I did not like in D3 when there was the mid-boss cutscene. Did Diablo have that, or the Butcher? I forget who had that. I feel like there was a mid-boss cutscene. I don't really like those. And if there's a bunch of cutscenes, then I'd be like, yeah, like, I just kind of want to play through the game. But I thought it was cool. They're definitely bringing in, like, really gory, like, horror elements in these cutscenes. So that's pretty cool to me. The world boss fight felt okay. I enjoyed being able to dodge around in that fight a little bit. Sometimes it was hard to dodge and know what was being dodged and stuff. Exactly. The stagger was interesting. I liked the idea of stagger on bosses doing different things. It kind of makes you consider adding stagger onto certain bosses potentially. So maybe some bosses, it's a lot more important to stagger them and break off these things or make them lose whatever happens to it. It was a bit of an MMO feel in that one moment, right? Where, you're just kind of like spamming all your spells out and doing whatever. I don't mind it so long as we also get a lot of great solo boss fights. I guess that's my thing. If we can have really cool solo boss fights, yeah, maybe make that boss model a little smaller first. But if we can have really good solo boss fights, and once again, steal from Path of Exile. Path of Exile has some of the best boss fights I have ever done. They are creative. They are unique. They have really interesting, mechanics to them. Each one, they're fun to learn. I feel like Etziri was an amazing fight. I had so much fun with the Etziri fight. Whoever that spider dude, that one was actually really fun. What's the in the like Hall of Sin, not Hall of, the guy with the light. What's his name? That was a really cool fight as well, and he had like the big statue that walked around to try and kill you and stuff, and then would freeze up. Innocence, thank you. Sin, Innocence, I was just on the other side of it. Like, steal those sorts of fights and bring them to the game. Like, those are beautiful. There were so many unique fights in PoE. I really hope they create a lot of those. Overall, terrain at the moment was simple. Obviously, this is a demo. They're just trying to show off basic stuff. I really hope that they have a lot more varied terrain dungeon styles. By that, I mean the Maggot Lair, ancient tunnels, the pit, frozen river, the sewers, the jails, right? Not just the theme of the area, but the pathing of the area. When you're in the Maggot Lair, you're in this tight little corridor. If there's a monster in front of you, behind it, it requires you to be creative in how you're going to get through it. When you are in the jail, there's all of the jail cell doors, and it's like a lot harder to kind of see things around corners and stuff. Same with the sewers. There's not that, but there's a lot of like long, difficult, like narrow strips in the sewers and stuff here and there. So you have to be like creative again with how you're going to fight monsters in there, where you're going to lock them up in certain areas so only a couple can attack you at a time. When you're in, the ancient tunnels, you've got kind of the tunnel feel to it with little narrow strips, but lots of like open spaces. So you can bring stuff into those spaces to clear stuff there. So many amazing map layouts that I really hope they bring that back. And, my biggest thing is I think to like Diablo, or I think to like D3, like Greater Rifts. And they're like, they all kind of felt the same to me when I was going through them. There wasn't like, oh, I'm in this one and it's this kind of, style. And these are like these are how the rooms are designed in these. And, it felt very just like linear and this, and, there's like a lot of set things. And when you had a timer, I understand that makes that difficult. Because if a timer for like the Maggot Lair would be a lot harder sort of stuff. But I hope that they kind of really play around with terrain and create interesting map layouts that have varying levels of widths and lengths to them and sizes of rooms and all of that. I loved the extra inventory styles. So they talked about there being like a quest inventory where your quest items go. They had a potion inventory for potions. I think that there's, I'll talk about that again in resource management a little bit. Something to be said for having like potions in your inventory slots and things of that nature. But I thought it was a really interesting idea to have your potion inventory, your quest inventory, your whatever. And to me, I think like a charms inventory, right? That'd be a great thing to add to the game so that you can put your charms in your charm inventory. And there you go. Now you don't have to worry about every single thing in your inventory being taken up by charm space, right? Because charms are too good in Diablo 2. And so they're so good that they overrun your inventory and you no longer have any inventory space, and you can't justify it because, well, a charm would be better. So it'd be really nice to see like a little charm inventory. I don't know. I thought that would be cool. But I liked what they put there. I didn't like the visible item names on the ground. So I'd be like running through and there'd be like, stuttered nail mace of the wood or something, whatever, right? Like, it's a terrible name, but it'd be like a rare club on the ground, and it would have the whole thing right there, and it'd be pretty identified, and everything would just be sitting there. And I thought, I really like it when the item is not identified and when it just says rare mace, right? Like, then I'm not having to, like, in my mind interpret what is a studded wood iron of, like, I don't have to think about that. I can just go, do I want a rare mace? Yes. Pick it up. Do I not want a rare mace? No. Leave it on the ground. Like, I can just know it. And then additionally, I get to identify that item, which is its own fun little gamble in itself, right? I mean, let's talk about, like, the unique rings that dropped. I found 2 SOJs. Obviously planted, but, like, I found 2 SOJs. I pick up the SOJ. It's so much cooler when I pick up the unique ring, and then I can, 1, trade a unique ring. Hey, you want a chance at an SOJ? I got a unique ring here. Or 2, I can ID it myself and have that little, like, gamble right there for the SOJ. It gives me a choice, and it also gives, like, a second excitement to it, right? If I so choose to have that, or if I want to get rich trading a bunch of unit stuff. Unidentified, right? So I think unidentified is a good thing and looks better on the ground as well. Talk about how you can only wear 1 SOJ. Yeah, I could also only put 1 SOJ on. That was trash. If I find 2 SOJs, I better be able to wear 2 SOJs. That's all I can say. Like, restrictions like that, I wasn't too big on. And then the last thing that I have here really was I hope they expand the attack stat more. Like I said, I didn't like equipping the random ring and then it boosting my spell attack damage. I put a ring on and now without plus the skills, just like ring that has higher attack. And now my Cold Blast does more damage. And now my Blizzard does more damage. And now my Fireball does more damage. Like, when you do that, it takes a lot of decisions away from comparisons. Instead, if I'm comparing rings, this ring is, increasing fire damage. This one's increasing cold damage. This, right? Like, that's a much more interesting comparison for me to make. And it's also not one that can have a green arrow or a red arrow for, like, yes, this is better. Yes, this isn't better, right? I can, like, sit there and think, what would be better for my current build? What would be better for the skills that I'm focusing on right now? What would be X, Y, Z, right? That sort of stuff to me is more interesting. So when there was just flat stack, attack damage or defense or whatever, I wasn't too huge on that. So that definitely, right, that's the, like, D3 style there. And that's something that I will say, like, if they take the current item system, the D3 item system, and port it over into Diablo 4, I don't care what else they do with anything else, that game will be a bust. Straight up. Because the Diablo 3 item system is not interesting. And so if they take the Diablo 3 item system and put it in D4, even if they have amazing combat, which right now they do, even if they have cool dungeons, even if they've got cool endgame content, I don't think the game will be very successful if they use that current item system. I think that is one of the biggest things in just an ARPG, but especially in Diablo, right? Finding loot and cool loot and making decisions on that is one of the most important things to exist, and there needs to be depth and there needs to be complexity to it. And so I really hope that if they get anything from this or from the feedback of everything, that they really take a look at how they're making items, how they're building out loot for the game. So that is my those are my points from the 2 hours and 22 minutes that I streamed the game. Um, I had fun streaming it. All of that to be said, right? There's plenty that will change. There's plenty of things. That is just my 2 hour 22 minute demo. Feedback on it. I thought there was a lot of great stuff there. I thought there were some things that weren't so great. But all in all, it feels like there's a good base, right? It feels like there's a solid start. Because once again, I thought, if they built D2 Remastered right now using this engine and the lighting and the colors and everything like that, that would be that would be like the perfect thing to do with it. And so I thought if they could build a perfect D2 Remaster in this engine, they can build a perfect Diablo 4 in this engine. So I have faith in them. I think they're really, really cool people. All the game devs and designers and everybody that I got to meet, they were super receptive. They were great at answering questions. They would sit there and they would give us feedback and they would talk to us, and I really enjoyed that. So like my hat's off to them. Well, my hat's on to them. D4 hat. But I'm excited. I'm excited for it in the state that it's in, but we got a long way to go, right? We have a long way to go. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, thanks everybody. See you later, YouTube. Peace.